Mope.
Mope.
Don't lie there moping on a lovely morning like this.
The week he died, we all sat around and moped.
She spends her days moping around the house.
Stephen didn't expect her to mope about while he was away on business.
Moped.
Moped.
Moppet.
Moppet.
Moquette.
Moquette.
A moquette armchair.
MOR. MOR.
Moraine.
Moraine.
Moral.
Moral.
It's easy to have an opinion on a moral issue like the death penalty for murder. It's easy to have an opinion on a moral issue like the death penalty for murder.
Moral philosophy. I think you can run a business to the highest moral standards. If we accept that certain babies should be allowed to die, we place doctors in a moral dilemma.
Man is gifted with a moral sense by which he distinguishes good from evil. Man is gifted with a moral sense by which he distinguishes good from evil. Man is gifted with a moral sense by which he distinguishes good from evil.
The book places a high moral value on marriage and the family unit.
The UN feels that it has the moral authority to send troops to the area.
A man has a moral duty to obey the law.
It isn't just lack of moral fibre which leads to a rising divorce rate. It isn't just lack of moral fibre which leads to a rising divorce rate.
Dad came along to give me some moral support.
Through Joan of Arc, France won a great moral victory.
A moral man of high integrity.
Has the government lost its moral compass? The morals and customs of the Victorian period.
Values and morals are independent of religious faith.
The corruption of public morals.
A young woman of loose morals.
The moral of the film was that crime does not pay. The moral of the film was that crime does not pay.
Morale.
Morale.
A win is always good for morale.
Low staff morale.
The failed coup caused a loss of morale within the army. The failed coup caused a loss of morale within the army.
There is a need to raise morale in the teaching profession.
The prince's morale-boosting mission to the war-torn country.
The media feels pressure to keep the morale of the country up in wartime.
Morality.
Morality.
Sexual morality.
The decline in standards of personal morality.
The authorities are protectors of public morality.
A lack of concern for conventional morality.
A discussion on the morality of abortion.
Moralize.
Moralize.
Politicians moralizing about people's sexual behavior.
Morally.
Morally.
What you did wasn't illegal, but it was morally wrong.
There is a belief that village life is somehow morally superior to city life. There is a belief that village life is somehow morally superior to city life.
Such hypocrisy is morally indefensible.
The Constitution is not morally neutral, but is based on certain central values.
I am morally certain that he is incapable of deliberately harming anyone.
The moral majority.
Moral majority.
Smokers today are often made to feel like social outcasts by the moral majority.
Morass.
Morass.
We're trying to drag the country out of its economic morass. They were stuck in a morass of paperwork.
Moratorium.
Moratorium.
A moratorium on nuclear testing.
A 2-year moratorium on interest payments.
Morbid.
Morbid.
A morbid fascination with instruments of torture.
The trip was made all the worse by Frankie's morbid fear of flying.
His head was full of morbid thoughts.
A morbid gene.
Mordant.
Mordant.
The play's mordant comedy makes for compelling viewing. The play's mordant comedy makes for compelling viewing.
More.
More.
You'll have to be more careful next time.
Can't it be done more quickly? Children generally feel much more confident working in groups.
It was a lot more expensive than I had expected.
Your health is more important than anything else.
Selling goods abroad is no more difficult than selling to the home market.
Children can often do these puzzles more easily than adults.
Selling goods abroad is no more difficult than selling to the home market.
I promised Mum that I'd help more with the housework.
You need to get out of the house more. Children are using the library more than they used to.
He travels around a lot more now that he has a car.
She cares a lot more for her dogs than she does for me. She cares a lot more for her dogs than she does for me.
It's his manner I dislike more than anything else.
More and more, we are finding that people want to continue working beyond 60.
As the disease worsened, he found walking more and more difficult.
A place where the ground was more or less flat.
They've settled here more or less permanently.
He more or less accused me of lying.
May I thank you all once more for making this occasion such a big success.
Once more the soldiers attacked, and once more they were defeated.
England was once more at war with France.
Sarah doesn't live here anymore.
The store is more than happy to deliver goods to your home.
The police are more than likely to ban the match.
The more I thought about it, the less I liked the idea.
It was more a worry than a pleasure. It was more a worry than a pleasure. The lectures were more than a little disappointing.
She didn't know the reason for his leaving. No more do I.
He's no more fit to be a priest than I am.
We should spend more on health and education.
More people are buying new cars than ever before.
Our plane took off more than 2 hours late.
More than a quarter of the students never finished their courses.
Viewers want better television and more of it.
Perhaps next year more of us will be able to afford holidays abroad.
I really am interested. Tell me more.
We need 5 more chairs. Can I have a little more time to finish?
Are there any more sandwiches? I have no more questions.
You'd better take some more of your medicine.
Don't waste any more of my time.
More and more people are moving to the cities.
It's a beautiful cottage, not more than 5 minutes from the nearest beach. It's a beautiful cottage, not more than 5 minutes from the nearest beach.
Opinion polls show that no more than 30% of people trust the government. Opinion polls show that no more than 30% of people trust the government.
It always seems like the more I earn, the more I spend.
It was more of a holiday than a training exercise. It was more of a holiday than a training exercise.
It's no more than you deserve.
Elaine felt it was no more than her duty to look after her husband. Elaine felt it was no more than her duty to look after her husband. Elaine felt it was no more than her duty to look after her husband.
He's no more than a glorified accountant.
He left school with little more than a basic education.
I've been fortunate to find a career that I love, and what's more, I get well paid for it.
No more dreary winters. We're moving to Florida.
Moorish.
Moorish.
Moreover.
Moreover.
The rent is reasonable and, moreover, the location is perfect.
The source of the information is irrelevant. Moreover, the information need not be confidential.
Mores.
Mores.
Contemporary social and sexual mores.
Morgue.
Morgue.
Moribund.
Moribund.
The region's heavy industry is still inefficient and moribund.
A cut in interest rates will help the country's moribund housing market. A cut in interest rates will help the country's moribund housing market.
The patient was moribund by the time the doctor arrived.
Mormon.
Mormon.
Morn.
Morn.
Morning.
Morning.
I hated those cold winter mornings.
I'm not feeling very well this morning.
He stayed in bed late on Sunday morning.
She took the early morning train.
The phone rang at 3 in the morning.
It's 4 o'clock in the morning.
I'll deal with that in the morning.
She works mornings at the local school.
I was on duty morning, noon and night.
Morning, everybody.
Morning after pill.
Morning after pill.
Morning coat.
Morning coat.
Morning dress.
Morning dress.
Morning glory.
Morning glory.
Morning prayer.
Morning prayer.
Morning room.
Morning room.
Morning sickness.
Morning sickness.
Morning star.
Morning star.
Morning suit.
Morning suit.
Morocco.
Morocco.
Morose.
Morose.
Daniel seems very morose and gloomy.
He stared morosely at the floor.
Morph.
Morph.
The river flooded its banks and morphed into a giant sea that swamped the town. The river flooded its banks and morphed into a giant sea that swamped the town.
Morpheme.
Morpheme.
The past tense morpheme. The plural morpheme.
Morpheus.
Morpheus.
Morphia.
Morphia.
Morphine.
Morphine.
Morphing.
Morphing.
Morphology.
Morphology.
The morphological features of cells.
Morris dancing.
Morris dancing.
Morrow.
Morrow.
They were to arrive on the morrow.
Take no thought for the morrow. On the morrow of victory.
Morse code.
Morse code.
A message in Morse code.
Morsel.
Morsel.
A morsel of bread.
A morsel of scandal.
Birds searching for tasty morsels.
Mortal.
Mortal. Mortal.
Her father's death reminded her that she was mortal.
The computer has dealt a mortal blow to traditional printing methods. The computer has dealt a mortal blow to traditional printing methods. The computer has dealt a mortal blow to traditional printing methods.
Our health service is in mortal danger.
Near the end of the battle, he received a mortal wound.
The screams of men in mortal combat.
He glared at Claudia as if she were his mortal enemy.
She lives in mortal fear of her husband's anger.
The churchyard where his mortal remains lie.
Both gods and mortal men found her captivating. Both gods and mortal men found her captivating.
When Hubbard shuffled off this mortal coil.
She dines in the executive suite, while we lesser mortals use the staff cafeteria. She dines in the executive suite, while we lesser mortals use the staff cafeteria.
Mortality.
Mortality.
Mortality from heart disease varies widely across the world.
An appallingly high infant mortality rate.
My mother's death forced me to face the fact of my own mortality.
Mortalities from cancer.
Mortally.
Mortally.
He regarded the mortally wounded man with no pity in his heart.
He was mortally afraid of upsetting her.
I tried to be tactful, but he seemed to be mortally offended.
Mortal sin.
Mortal sin.
Mortar.
Mortar.
A cameraman was killed when his vehicle came under mortar fire. A mortar attack.
You'll need a pestle and mortar to grind the spices. You'll need a pestle and mortar to grind the spices.
Mortarboard.
Mortarboard.
Mortgage.
Mortgage.
Your building society or bank will help arrange a mortgage. Your building society or bank will help arrange a mortgage.
They've taken out a 30-year mortgage.
We decided to use Fred's redundancy money to pay off the mortgage.
Mortgage rates are set to rise again in the spring. She was having trouble meeting her mortgage payments.
If you earn £20,000 per year, then you may be able to get a mortgage of £60,000.
We mortgaged our house to start Paul's business.
The report explains how governments are mortgaging their nation's futures.
Mortgagee.
Mortgagee.
Mortgager.
Mortgager.
Mortician.
Mortician.
Mortified.
Mortified.
Nora was mortified to discover that her daughter had been out drinking.
Mortify.
Mortify.
Mortis.
Mortis.
Mortislock.
Mortislock.
Mortuary.
Mortuary.
A mortuary urn.
Mosaic.
Mosaic.
The Mosaic Law.
Mosaic.
Mosaic.
Rooms decorated with wall paintings and mosaics.
A 3rd century Roman mosaic floor. The forest floor was a mosaic of autumn colours.
The complex mosaic of world cultures.
Moses basket.
Moses basket.
Mosey.
Mosey.
I guess I'll mosey on down to the store now. I better mosey along, it's getting late.
Mosh.
Mosh.
Mosh pit.
Mosh pit.
Muslim.
Muslim.
Mosque.
Mosque.
Mosquito.
Mosquito.
Mosquito net.
Mosquito net.
Moss.
Moss.
A high mossy wall.
Mozzie.
Mozzie.
Most.
Most.
She's one of the most experienced teachers in the district.
The most important thing is to stay calm.
A recent study showed that gardening is easily the most popular activity among the over 50s. A recent study showed that gardening is easily the most popular activity among the over 50s.
We shall find out which system works most effectively. We shall find out which system works most effectively.
It is the kind of tea most often served in Chinese restaurants.
What annoyed him most was the way she wouldn't even listen.
I guess the food I eat most is pasta.
Most of all, I just felt sad that it was over. Thank you for a most interesting evening.
I was most surprised to hear of your engagement.
He plays poker most every evening.
Like most people, I try to take a vacation every year.
Most research in this field has been carried out by the Russians.
It was Sunday, and most of the shops were shut.
Most of what Hannah told me wasn't true.
Some were barefoot, most were in rags.
Most of the time, it's very quiet here.
Most evenings we just stay in and watch TV.
The team that scores the most points wins.
Which class has the most children in it?
It's unfair that you should have to pay the most when you earn so little.
The animal that caused most trouble was a little black puppy.
The aim is to help patients to obtain most benefit from their treatment.
The most you can hope to achieve is just to get him to listen to your ideas.
It'll take 20 minutes at the most.
There were at most 50 people in the audience.
The boy looked 9 at the very most.
For the most part, people seemed pretty friendly.
Charming and friendly, she will help you make the most of your visit. Advice on how to get the most out of your computer.
Most.
Most.
The northernmost town in Sweden.
The topmost branches of the tree.
Mostly. Mostly.
Green teas are mostly from China or Japan.
There were about 15 people in the lounge, mostly women.
He blamed his parents. Mostly he blamed his dad.
MOT.
MOT.
My car's just failed its MOT.
An MOT certificate.
Moat.
Moat.
Motel.
Motel.
Motet.
Motet.
Moth.
Moth.
Mothball.
Mothball.
With the end of the Cold War, several warships were put into mothballs.
The hospital manager said the project would be mothballed until funding became available.
Moth-eaten.
Moth-eaten.
A moth-eaten sweater.
A moth-eaten old sofa.
Mother.
Mother.
His mother and father are both doctors.
Janet is a full-time teacher and a mother of 2.
The relationship between mother and child.
Good night, Mother.
Mother said they'd met at university.
If food is scarce, the mother will feed the smaller, weaker chicks.
She's like a mother to them. If they need anything, she always helps out.
The prayers which he had been taught at his mother's knee.
Westminster is known as the mother of parliaments.
Necessity is the mother of invention.
I woke up with the mother of all hangovers.
A real mother of a car.
I don't like being mothered.
Mother country.
Mother country.
The bond between the mother country and her former colonies grew stronger.
Mother Earth.
Mother Earth.
Motherfucker.
Motherfucker.
Motherhood.
Motherhood.
The challenge of combining a career with motherhood.
Teenagers who are unprepared for motherhood.
Mothering. Mothering.
Mothering skills.
Babies and young children need mothering.
Mothering Sunday.
Mothering Sunday.
Mother-in-law.
Mother-in-law.
Motherland.
Motherland.
They are willing to die for the motherland.
Motherless.
Motherless.
Homes for children who had been left motherless.
Motherload.
Motherload. The Sharper Image Catalog is a motherload of men's gadgets and toys. They hit the motherload with their second album.
Motherly.
Motherly.
Her motherly instincts.
She was a plump, motherly woman in her 50s.
Mother Nature.
Mother Nature.
How could Mother Nature have dealt such a savage blow?
Mother of God.
Mother of God.
Mother of pearl.
Mother of pearl.
Mother's boy.
Mother's boy.
Mother's Day.
Mother's Day.
Mothership.
Mothership.
Mother Superior.
Mother Superior.
Mother-to-be.
Mother-to-be.
Mother Tongue.
Mother tongue.
Children for whom English is not their mother tongue. Motif.
Motif.
The theme of creation is a recurrent motif in Celtic mythology.
A white t-shirt with a blue fish motif.
Motion.
Motion.
The motion of the planets.
The rocking motion of the boat made Sylvia feel sick.
Newton's first law of motion.
He summoned the waiter with a motion of his hand.
Doyle glanced back at Bodie and made a slight motion with his head.
The motion was defeated by 201 votes to 159.
We will now vote on the motion that membership charges should rise by 15%.
The motion was carried unanimously.
I urge you to support this motion.
I'd like to propose a motion to move the weekly meetings to Thursdays.
The motion was seconded by Mr. Levin.
The attorneys filed a motion for a temporary restraining order.
The end doors are not to be used when the train is in motion.
The church voted to set in motion the process allowing women to be priests. Once the house had been sold, Jane set the wheels in motion to find somewhere smaller to live.
I feel so bored at work, like I'm just going through the motions.
The police officer motioned for me to pull over.
He motioned to the barman to refill their glasses.
His father motioned him forward.
I saw her motioning me into the room.
Motion control.
Motion control.
Motion controller.
Motion controller.
Motionless.
Motionless.
The men stood motionless as Weir held his finger to his lips.
Graham remained motionless.
Motion picture.
Motion picture.
The motion picture industry.
Motion sickness.
Motion sickness.
Motivate.
Motivate.
Was he motivated solely by a desire for power?
We may never know what motivated him to kill his wife.
A good teacher has to be able to motivate her students.
The profit-sharing plan is designed to motivate the staff to work hard.
Motivated.
Motivated.
The students are all highly motivated.
The key to a successful modern economy is a well-educated and motivated workforce.
A politically motivated decision.
Police believe the attack was racially motivated.
Motivation.
Motivation.
Efforts to improve employees' motivation.
Jack is an intelligent pupil, but he lacks motivation. A high level of motivation.
What was your motivation for becoming a teacher?
Escape can be a strong motivation for travel.
There is suspicion about the motivation behind the changes we are debating.
Motivational speeches.
Motivator.
Motivator.
Money is a good motivator.
Motive.
Motive.
What do you suppose the killer's motive was?
The police believe the motive for this murder was jealousy.
The motives behind the decision remain obscure.
The violence was clearly prompted by political motives.
It's not the kind of thing he'd do unless he had an ulterior motive. It's not the kind of thing he'd do unless he had an ulterior motive.
An apparently motiveless killing.
Water provided the motive power for the mill.
Mot juste.
Mot juste.
She paused, searching for the mot juste.
Motley.
Motley.
I looked at the motley bunch we were sailing with and began to feel uneasy about the trip. I looked at the motley bunch we were sailing with and began to feel uneasy about the trip. His pockets contained a motley collection of coins, movie ticket stubs, and old candies.
Motocross.
Motocross.
Motor.
Motor.
An electric motor.
That's a nice motor you've got, Dave. The motor industry. A motor accident. Motor insurance.
A motor scooter. Impaired motor function.
Bertie is motoring down from London.
Motorbike.
Motorbike.
Motorboat.
Motorboat.
Motorcade.
Motorcade.
The President's motorcade.
Motorcar.
Motorcar.
Motorcycle.
Motorcycle.
Motorhome.
Motorhome.
Motoring.
Motoring.
These magazines cover all kinds of popular subjects, such as motoring, gardening, and sports.
He was found guilty of 14 motoring offences. Police and motoring organisations urged drivers to keep their speed down. The sharp rise in motoring costs